Here we have a presentation. So the main content of the presentation is integrating SAP financial data into the data platform using first Data Vault and, as it was said, automation. So let us begin. Okay, so we put the context. The context is that we are in a big retail luxury company in France, and the finance department wants to track expenses, day-to-day expenses, in two domains, in two different domains. Four class accounts, it means budget and purchase order expenses, and the others out of purchase order purchases, which are class 6. The customer uses SAP Ariba for planning, for budgeting, and for planning purchase orders. But this system Ariba is not enough. So we had to go up to ECC and to leverage accounting schemas to reach the expected customer benefits, to accelerate spend reporting. So now we are able to report day to day for decision making. Okay, so here, the second slide about business, we had to reshape data around topics such as text and languages, hierarchies, currency exchange. We had also to identify accounting indicators. So these two slides were produced by Jérôme, who is a business expert at Axeliance. Unluckily, he cannot be here today, but I salute him, Jérôme. So now we leave the business domain and we go into the functional domain. So the SAP model, as we onboarded it in the data platform, is this one. It is made of SAP tables. It is made of business columns that do not exist into SAP, which are indicators for the spend analysis use case. We also created new relations which are not existing in the actual SAP model. So this model was designed during conception with the business, and yes. So we had the choice to either implement a functional model, or I come back to the core SAP model. So the business chose to implement the SAP model because we don't understand nothing in those columns and those tables, but they are very comfortable with all these strange names. So let's go. Here is the main slide. You will be able to get it after the presentation. This is the most important slide in the presentation because it presents the actual functional architecture of Data Vault. Data Vault, as its core model, is very flexible because it has satellites, which gives flexibility for new columns on core concepts, which are held by hubs. And the links are late binding, which is very, very powerful, contrary to normal SQL. We will illustrate this in a sample in the demonstration. And the most important feature in Data Vault is the recycling. Here you can see the red arrow, which is computed just close to the business model and then reinjected back in the model, like in a loop. And this will enrich the model, and it will keep the architecture, the data platform architecture, very, very stable and very consistent all during the time. So here we record the key elements of the functional architecture, which is Data Vault implements standard 3-zone medallion architecture, bronze, silver, gold. The pipeline cinematic is clearly path. there is no risk of chaotic stretching. You remember, because we loop back the business rules into the model. So everything is very clear. It is based on business rules, which are perfectly centralized. They are auditable and, as we said, recycled for future sprints. Data Vault is an incremental architecture which keeps perfectly stable between the sprints. It is based on multi-source and perimeter, functional perimeter extensions. Data Vault is model-centric, which is very good for supporting the knowledge. This is the data model we showed just before. Of course, the relationships are late binding and are totally decoupled of the model. You remember when you design a SQL model, you have to set in the model as metadata the primary keys and the foreign keys. You don't do that in Data Vault. You do it at runtime by full configuration. You also get full historization, CDC, SCD, and temporal data marts. So in this demonstration, we used little adjustments using ETL. Actually, ETL is not part of Data Vault, but in this automation we are using, it is Data Vault Builder. We have a little facility that we can implement at the entry of the pipeline. Some others are not possible, such as Taker J Day 2, because it is very buggy inside SAP, and it needs some Python code to reshape the data at the entry of the data lake. So this is illustrated here. We have ETL at the entry of the pipeline, and in this case, we reshape language as lines into columns, because, as you know, business intelligence is the concepts are on the columns, and the instances are in rows. So we integrate data coming from SAP data coming from the data lake, which is pushed using SAP OData, and we reuse the DAT load CDC timestamp that was set into the data lake, and we say Data Vault Builder, don't compute your own CDC, but reuse this, it is already computed. So in Data Vault, it is possible to compute the CDC or reuse the CDC that was actually calculated by the integration layer into the data lake. Okay, so business keys are decoupled from the model, and here we see a capture of the screen that for table BSEG, the accounting lines, we have chosen 5 primary keys. 5 columns are as primary keys. Okay. Next, we will feed the satellites. So here we have a little screenshot at the upper right part of the screen. We feed them from the staging area. The names come from the actual source in the raw Data Vault. And it is mapping by configuration, and in the configuration it is possible to change type and renaming columns. This step has no business value at all, it is only technical. This is the kind of code that can be automated. It doesn't have no business value. So the business rules. The business rules we will talk later in detail. They bring the business value of the data platform, and they are decoupled from the model. We will see how we reinject them into the model. So in this business rule, we will calculate new indicators, as we see CapEx, OpEx, penalties, ledger, blah, blah, using, as we said before, accounts, financial accounts of class 4 and class 6. And then it will give us new columns. And these columns, as we see, we will reinject into the staging layer of the data vault pipeline. Here we will choose the computed columns we want to integrate, which are OPEX, CAPEX, and perimeter accounting entry. And at the end, we reinject them in the business vault model. Here we see OPEX, CAPEX, and perimeter accounting entry. So we have recycled, we have looped back. I show again this schema. We see here the red arrow. So this is all about this operation. So I come back to the presentation. Okay. Also, in the business rules, so we saw before we created new columns. Now we are creating new relations between two concepts, which are BSEG and CSKS. These are the accounting line and the cost center into SAP. And as you can see, depending on the actual accounting line configuration, we go and fetch the foreign key in a table or in another table, depending on the line. So it is totally transparent. What we produce is a pair of business keys that will be recycled to create a link. The business rules are completely centralized, and they can be searched, again, names, again, documentations. Here, it is very easy to find back a business rule. For example, in this customer, to find back the business rule to reshape the currency rate, it took us 20 minutes, really, 21 minutes to find back the code that was lost into the medallion platform, which is really awful to maintain. So here is very clear to find back the business knowledge. Okay, so here are 3 slides about business expertise. So we will show now 3 business rules. We create indicators for BSEG. So here again, we see the business rule on the left, and on the right, we see the actual database, which is Postgre. It is driven by the Data Vault Builder automation, and we see the result on the right part. So these are business indicators to support the spend analysis reporting. Okay. Now we have here the cost center, as we said, the link between the accounting line and the actual cost center. And here we have a link between the accounting line and the actual currency rate using a bitemporal relation to find back the good currency rate. Okay, so at the end, we have produced the whole model. We just have to drag and drop the columns. After I show a little demonstration on how easy it is to do that. And at the end, we validate, we get the actual data product, and it is automatically, well, you have to check a little button. It is automatically published into a special schema, which is access layer. And next, you can plug Power BI. At the customer place, it was click. Okay, so it is possible to make row, star, 3NF data marts. As we said here, we show back here. In the error marking, it is possible to generate big tables, 3NF, and star schema, which are all technical outputs. Okay. Here we get the full data lineage of the pipeline. Of course, with an automation, it is very easy to find back the pipeline. And also the business rules are based on the JDBC driver, which can give you back the metadata to keep track of the data lineage using SQL-based business rules, which is, for example, not possible in Python code. So it is fully SQL-based business rules. Okay, so let's resume the benefits of the Data Vault plus automation before making the actual demonstration. When you build your data platform, you have two types of cost centers. You have cost centers with value added and those with no value. For example, let's list those which have no value. Data warehouse architecture. Data Vault brings a very clean architecture, so you don't have to spend hours of time with a big team to redesign a new data warehouse architecture. Data Vault is the perfect architecture. Also, you don't have to set up good practices because these are perfectly defined in the bronze, silver, gold layer as medallion architecture. You don't have to put a governance on the good practices because the automation tool does it for you. You cannot go outside this governance. About the technical coding, the automation provides full coding wherever it doesn't have business value. And the business value on the left in green color is about business rules, as we said before, is about modeling the business objects, the relations, and the attributes. So we repeat before developing on Data Vault, you must have a clear vision of your model, your first model, before coding any line of code. You identify your business rules, and when you have done this job, you can begin implementing. And on the bottom, we have all the facilities that are provided with the Data Vault Builder automation tool. Globally, it brings a very little footprint at the IT department, and it is very productive. How long to implement this full demonstration? It took me 1.5 days. Of course, this time doesn't encapsulate the modeling, the business rules, which took weeks to fix with the business expert and the actual people at the finance department. So only 2 days, which is very, very productive. So thank you for listening this demonstration. We will now show the actual product. So here we have the actual Data Vault product, Data Vault Builder, and we see at the center that we have the model that was shown before in the previous model. So one thing, this model, sorry, yes, this model is most better suited to communicate with the business people than the model here represented with many satellites, links, which is little less readable. So we have here the raw vault, the business vault. So we recognize here the business rules that we have shown in the demonstration. This one we didn't show. It is the currency rate reshaping. So this one we saw, it is about OPEX, CAPEX, perimeter account entry, blah, blah, etc. In the staging area, we see that we have here row tables coming from the actual data lake, and we have here the business rules that we have reinjected back into the model, as we saw before. The business rules, of course, are all here. So we recognize here the indicators on the accounting line, the indicators for the bill header. So we have here business indicators. Here we have late binding links. So we have different links, etc. And at the end, here we build the actual data product, which is spend analysis. And spend analysis uses all the satellites, raw satellite, and here business satellite. It uses the relations, either late binding or raw binding. And we see, when I touch any surface, it will highlight, yes, the column here, blah, blah. And at the end, yes, here, it is possible to spend analysis. Sorry. To include it here in the access layer, it's a button. As we saw, it is automatically fed into the target database. We saw also the main data lineage, and we also have the circular dependencies that come from the output and go back into the model layer. We also have the deployment operations, but this is only technical. So thank you. I come back to the, yes. So I am finished with this SAP integration demonstration. So we have seen how efficient the data vault architecture is, and only focusing on data modeling, business rules, and business keys, nothing else. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Jose. That was really interesting, and it's always great to see a case study here, and a lot of our community really enjoy case studies just because it's good to see real stuff out in the wild. We have a few questions. So these are questions asked by the community before joining. I think you may have answered them already. So on which technology is the data vault implemented? I believe that was Postgres for you, was it?
You mean the automation?
So yeah, I think it says which technology. I guess they mean the database platform in this case.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the customer is running Snowflake.
Okay.
And this demonstration, we took, we brought back the business rules, the model at Axeliance, and we run it into Postgre locally. And we have, we don't have sensitive information.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, okay. And then thank you for that. So then there was a follow-up question, which is, and I think this is a big question from a lot of people actually. So there's a few other questions about this. So how did you deal with the highly generalized tables in the SAP system? So I'll tie in some other questions here as well. So a lot of the source naming in the SAP system, I think we all know, isn't great. And in terms of the technical ideas and coming up with good business keys and things like that, the actual modeling approach when you're building a data file off of SAP, I think is a big struggle for a lot of people. So how did you solve that? I hope I've done that question justice. I've kind of merged in a few questions there as well. So.
Great question. And this is a governance question, not technical, of course. So And this governance is held by defining the model. Here we have the naming, the target naming, which is validated by the business. Next, we have an automatic tool that brings this model into Data Vault Builder. And when we are inside Data Vault Builder, we have this. Oops, I will show you, which are the prototypes. Let me show you. These satellites are naming prototypes. So these are raw prototypes. We also have business prototypes in some cases. BSEG prototype. Oops, I have too many things. Sorry, I will try to. Oops, I don't see anything. Yes, maybe here. Okay, here I have a prototype. So we bring the model naming into the prototype, and after, let me show you. When we create, okay, menu, clear, create. For example, we do that. We do this. Okay. When we make the reporting, yes, the first thing we do is to put. So we have prototypes about dimensional, and the prototypes dimensional take the table and the column name. So we bring the governed name, and after a credit BSEG, I find the actual column. Well, anyway, I put any. I put on it, yes, and it makes a renaming. So at the end, I am sure that these column namings are under governance. So that's it.
Okay, so maybe I could be misunderstanding this. Do you bring everything in kind of as is, and then you handle it in the business vault and the kind of apply the governance there much later?
Yes, we actually the naming is inside the golden layer at the data mart layer, which is where it is very useful.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense to me. Great. Okay. Yeah, and that's a good way of doing it, and it aligns with the data vault standards as well. So handling it in the business layer or the presentation layer makes sense to me. There's a few follow-up questions then. Someone asked how many layers are recommended in the data vault architecture, which I think there is generally a standard. How many layers did you use, out of curiosity?
It is a 3-layer. We have
Yeah.
the staging here, which computes the CDC or takes the CDC from the data lake. Here, the data vault layer, which compute the SCD based on segregating with the business keys. We build the model, we recycle the business rules, and at the end, we have the third and last layer, which produces the data marting.
Yeah. Okay. So standard architecture then makes perfect sense. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. So really interesting question here. So are late binding links considered to be business vault layer? If so, is the solution resilient to removing the data from the business vault and reloading?
Yes. Of course, it is. Of course. Yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
doing the late binding business rules like this is the best way. There is no better way to do that thing that is somehow dirty.
That's good. I don't understand as much about SAP as a lot of people here, so I'm going to read this out and hopefully you'll understand it. What's the suggested approach involving Data Vault when it comes to SAP BW objects like COPA and the like?
Oh, I'm sorry, I cannot answer that. I would love Jérôme to be here, but unluckily he cannot be here. He has healthy problems. He could answer about SAP functionalities. I cannot answer. I don't have SAP enough knowledge. When we work together, he designed the business rules, and I designed the actual architecture. But I cannot
Okay.
answer, sorry.
Makes sense, no problem. Thank you. Good question here as well. Do you have a PSA or do you use transient staging? So I believe you mentioned staging CDC aware, which implies to me you probably have a PSA.
At the customer, so we recycled. Here we have the little clock. We recycled the column, the CDC column coming from the data lake, and when we are inside the automation at the satellite level, where is it? Yes. We choose to have SCD type 2 or type 1. Choosing type 1 will save compute calculation power and disk space, but it is activated. But actually, at the customer, we don't use historized data marts.
Are they only interested in the latest view of the data then?
No.
It's just you mentioned not having historized marts.
Oh, yes, I said that because when we produce the dimensional, sorry, we are able to use SCD1 or 2. When you use 2, it will produce an history column. You will have more. But at the customer site, we didn't use SCD2 for reporting because they want to have a day-to-day picture of the spend analysis.
Okay, thank you. I think last question at the moment. Thank you for the questions, everyone. It's really good. Keep them coming. What was the customer use case of using a data vault versus using a standard medallion source reporting pathway?
Oh, the configuration of the customer was to, when we arrived there, was to build data vault manually using medallion. It was totally awful. To bring this use case using medallion, it took 4 weeks. So we decided to POC with the customer, taking the exact same business rules. It took us 2 days to build the POC using the automation tool. This was the context. So the customer doesn't want to build manually data vault. It is a lot too complicated. And also they didn't succeed to implement CDC, SCD, historized data marts. It is too complicated manually.
Did they have a lot of data sources that they needed to integrate to take advantage of data vault, or?
No, not a lot. They have a lot of ticketing systems all around the world. So they come from regions such as Asia, United States, Europe, Africa, blah, blah. But in terms of many kinds of concepts, they don't have a lot. It's retailing. It's about retailing. It's not
Okay.
very complicated.
Okay. And I mean, this is a question just out of curiosity from me as well. So obviously, I mean, SAP you've got quite a lot of tables. You're going to be, in terms of, like, did you have a lot of volume of data? Was it performant?
Oh, yes. We have made a test in Snowflake with ticket tables with up to 2,000, 2 billion lines. And it's okay with the Snowflake, 2 billion lines.
Very nice. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, Snowflake is very nice if you do it right, and I think data works very well with Snowflake as well. Okay, great. Just one last question for me: is there anything that you're like particularly proud of with this solution? I think the speed at which you were able to do this sounds like it was really fast as well, which is obviously helped by the tool. But is there anything you want to call out that you're particularly happy with this project?
Yes, it is about the methodology and the governance. First, begin by modeling. Modeling. You don't even begin to write a single line of code before you have a clear vision on that. And every time you do anything on the data platform, you must be able to bring your finger on any part of the model. You say, okay, I will modify this. Sorry, I will append a new data here, a new link, blah, blah, before coding. This is the key of success. And the second key of success is to have a good business expert that will make the business rules. Sorry, it is a French version. So these are the two key success.
Okay, yeah, no, I would agree with that. It's very important with anything really, not just data vault. Is
Yes.
understand what you're building. You have a design in place, right? The data model is the schematic for your whole warehouse. It's the language of the data, so you need to do it. Yeah. Okay. I think that is everything then. Thank you so much, everyone. So someone said thank you for the From the Trenches session. Very valuable, and I would agree. Thank you very much.